think all this technology is going to drive me crazy. I can't.
Too much, too much.
It is too much, too quickly, too crazy. That is number 6.
Test, test.
This is the first time I've used it. Every night. Is it set up so that you can call on them?
No. No, because this was just this. But by next week we will, and then technically nobody will have to be here.
I agree, nobody would have to. I think it certainly appears much better.
Although in some ways, it's easier if everybody's on Zoom.
Well, that's if I can do that.
Yeah, that's true. It only works if you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I keep thinking I need to get this camera so it can see the wall, but I don't. It's that camera that will be able to see the wall. That's why I'm projecting it that way.
Okay, so I won't be able to see anybody else on board.
If you sat like one seat over on that side, I can, yeah. So it picks up you and
So Jeff came in this morning, this morning?
he did, yes.
I guess I may need like,
Okay.
I have a, quick state meeting, but after that.
After this week, will be better because everybody will be on Zoom. People watching, so they'll be able to see better.
So are we holding this consistent with the governor's emergency order 12?
Yes, because people can come tonight, but after this, we'll also be consistent. Test.
So should I turn it over to you for election and board chair?
No, I think you can do that. As, see, normally there isn't a vice chair or anyone.
Okay,
I know Steve did it the other day.
so, okay, so we don't have to, I just stay vice chair, and so there's no.
Right.
Okay. And I'll ask Sabrina if she's elected, if she wants to take over the meeting.
That makes sense, that you want test.
From my perspective, basically the meeting is, ask you to go, maybe department by department. How the public, any changes to the public,
That's-
anything the public can do.
That's my intent.